This is a Get Started with Investor in Careers briefing. On screen here, we've got the Investor in Careers School Assessment Criteria, and this is the document that you need to be working towards and using as your guide towards meeting the Quality in Careers standard. It's helpful on the first page here to have a think about the Quality in Careers standard as a whole. And on screen here you can see that we use 4 key elements of a Quality Careers programme around commitment, organisation, delivery and evaluation. And we then break that down into some stages which you'll work towards, and there are 3 stages, but it's important to keep in mind the qualification as a whole, because there's elements of this, although you will work towards stage 1, which is around commitment initially, in stages 2 and 3 the focus will be very much on how it is organised, delivered and evaluated. And it's important to think about some of the evidence that you may well be working on and gathering. Actually, we'll be looking at in stages 2 and 3, but you may well need to start to work on it now, particularly around the evaluation element. So the stages. Stage 1, the commitment. School demonstrates a commitment to careers education, information, advice and guidance and the Quality in Careers standard. Stages 2, that you have a CEIAG policy which is consistent with statutory guidance and relevant national frameworks. It should be published as well and made available to all students in the institution. Then it's looking at actually how the programme is structured and delivered. So is it delivered to all students in the institution, and does it help them find out about and prepare for the world of work? And we also at this stage look at access to independent impartial careers guidance. Stage 3 is around how you monitor and record achievements and progress, how you work with partners and external IAG providers, and how you involve parents and carers. Also then look at how staff are appropriately trained and developed. And this is all staff at all levels, so they are able to contribute to a whole school approach to CEIAG. And finally, as I already mentioned, the CEIAG programme is systematically monitored, reviewed and evaluated. The Investor in Careers Award meets and maps to the National Quality in Careers Standard and also incorporates the 8 Gatsby benchmarks for good careers guidance. Okay, so let's start and look at it in more detail now in terms of you getting started. Stage 1, around the commitment, has some key aspects that you'll need to provide evidence to demonstrate, but also this is your preparation towards meeting the Quality in Careers standard as a whole. So there will be a requirement, as you can see, to meet the indicators, and there are a number of indicators, 5 for stage 1, and on the right side here are examples of evidence. Now it's important just to note here that these are suggestions and not a prescriptive list. So you do not need to have evidence for all of these bullet points, but there are some key pieces of evidence that every portfolio will have, and we'll look at those in more detail in a minute. So stage 1, there's actual recognised and evidence commitment to meeting the Quality in Careers standard, and it's been agreed by the head teacher or principal and the governing body. Also that resources are agreed and in place to support this commitment. So the sorts of evidence you could start to pull together for this are in terms of your preparation and seeking agreement for that commitment, potentially extracts of minutes from relevant meetings. There may have been presentations to governors, senior leadership team, and evidence that you've considered the key objectives and outcomes of CEIG. Then should be and needs to be a linked governor with responsibility for careers. As we've said, some evidence to show that the budget or the resource allocations are in place and their careers is part of the school's overall strategic plans. This will be further evidenced by a formal written letter, and there's a template within the Investor in Careers Handbook, which we'll look at in a bit. Then this commitment should be shared with all staff, students, parents, carers, and relevant partners. And this just forms the initial part of an engagement process to raise awareness. So how do you do it? How do you tell people why you're going for the Quality in Careers standard and what it means for them? Outcome indicators 1.4 and 1.5 are really important, and this one, 1.5, I'm going to focus on in more detail now, because this is about you really getting started and planning towards meeting the Quality in Careers standard. We require you to complete an action plan with timescales showing how and when the school aims to become a full holder of the Quality in Careers standard. So in order to complete the action plan, you'll need to do an audit mapping exercise of your current CEIG provision against the Quality in Careers standard. And this will lead to the action plan. The Investor in Careers Handbook should be used to inform this activity. And we also recommend that the Compass Careers Benchmark tool is also a useful initial self-assessment exercise. So, documents and resources to help you do this. This is the Investor in Careers Handbook. Within it, we've set it out in stages to help guide you through this process. This is an overview, as we've already looked at within the standards, about how we break this down into manageable stages for you. This here includes 10 items of evidence that appear in all portfolios. So, as we looked at some suggestions already for stage 1, there are suggestions, but it's not a prescriptive list. Here we can see that your portfolio must have a letter of commitment from the head principal and the chair of governors, which names the lead for CEIG and the lead person for Investor in Careers within the institution. You will need to have a published programme of CEIG for all learners that's been mapped to a recognised CEIG framework. You will need to have an up-to-date careers policy that links to the organisation's improvement and development plan. You will need to include details of the range of work-related and employer learning and enterprise activities, details of arrangements for external impartial CEIG, or if this is delivered internally, then evidence that that is delivered by a professionally qualified careers advisor, and evidence of their qualifications in CPD. There need to be clear entitlement statements for learners and details of where and how they're publicised. And ideally this should be from years 7 upwards, but must be in line with Departments of Education statutory requirements. You need to provide evidence to show how that programme is differentiated and the support provided to meet learner needs. Evidence of training needs analysis and then support and training for staff involved with the delivery of CEIG. examples of how destinations data and labour market information are integrated into your CEIG programme, and then the framework and plan for structured evaluation. So if we go back now to the action plan, this, as I said, is an important way for you to get started and an important part of your planning towards meeting the full quality and careers standards. So one approach you could take is to use the Investor in Careers Handbook. I'm going to move it down here to the section around the audit and gap analysis. We have taken the outcome indicators here, and then you can use the RAG rating, red, amber, green, to look at what you already have in place or partially in place, and then what needs to happen and who's going to do it. And this will then be put into your action plan. So this is one paper-based way you can do it. You can also use the Gatsby Compass tool to help you with that self-assessment as well. So this will help you get an understanding of all the elements that you're going to need to meet in order to meet the quality and careers standard. Stage 2 will run through. You have a CEIG policy, and that it's been developed and reviewed in consultation with those involved in its delivery. Your policy needs to clearly state how CEIG is managed and coordinated within the school or institution, with defined roles and responsibilities of key staff, together with a clear statement about how CEIG and student entitlement will be monitored, reviewed and evaluated. Your policy will include, and you should have clearly accessible, student entitlement statements. This is so students, parents, staff and carers can see what their entitlement will be, what they will be doing, and what they will be learning and gaining in terms of skills through the CEIG programme at each year group. Outcome 3 is about your CEIG programme. There needs to be a written programme, and it should be mapped to a recognised framework. The one that we recommend and most commonly used is the CDI framework for careers, employability and enterprise education. There is now a recently released March 2018 version, which we would recommend you use, and the link is actually within the standards that we provide for you, the updated standard. So you need to work through this and identify gaps and areas for development and improvement. At that point, in order to meet stage 1, you will then need to create yourself an action plan. I'm going to scroll down now to the action plan template, which is available for you. This is a simple structured grid which you can use. You may wish to use your own, but the key thing that you're needing to do to evidence outcome indicator 1.5 is to show that you have viewed the whole of the standard and you have done a gap analysis and you are planning what needs to happen and when. And this should be a live document. And we will need to see this at stage 1. And it's something that you'll refer to and update. So the handbook contains many useful bits of information, and we'll come back to that and return to certain aspects of it throughout these briefings. So back to our criteria document. We've just looked now at how you can, and the things you'll need to do in order to meet 1.5. 1.4 is evidence of your school development stroke improvement plan, showing that it's demonstrating a strategic approach to CEIG. So in summary, for stage 1, my suggestion is that you start here actually at 1.5, because this is where you're going to be required to look at the qualification as a whole and to meet the standard. And it's your planning and it's your self-analysis that you're going to need to do, and also then who else is going to need to be involved in order to help you achieve this. Outcome indicators 1.1, 2 and 3. There is a template for the letter, and no doubt there will be some evidence that you can use to support this. We will actually pick up this a bit in stages 2 and 3 when we talk to the lead for careers and the lead for investor in careers at the institution, but also speaking to key members of senior leadership team, the link governor, and also members of staff who will be able to give us more context and also allow the assessor to really get a clear picture of the commitment to quality in careers, the strategic approach that's taken, and also how it's embedded and how people at all levels within the institution know and understand that they're working towards the quality in careers standard. This stage 1 will be done through an assessment of uploaded evidence to your online portfolio. Stages 2 and 3 also comprise evidence that you upload to the portfolio, but there is assessment interviews that take place at stage 2 and stage 3 with members of the school and also with students as well. A helpful document that we put together and we would strongly encourage you to use to help you in your planning and also as you progress through the qualification is that you use what we call the evidence commentary template here. Simple Word document, but it's a way to help you track the evidence that you are gathering and intending to use and upload to your portfolio to meet each of the outcome indicators. Suggestion here with evidence is to be selective. We've already looked at within the handbook that there are some key pieces of evidence that every portfolio will have, but you will also have some supplementary evidence as well, which we give suggestions of within the examples of evidence here in the right hand column. But this evidence commentary template is a way for you to track the evidence, but also we would encourage you to provide a brief rationale for why you're including that evidence. Why is it there and how is it meeting those outcome indicator requirements? That will be helpful to you because it will help you to think about being selective and picking appropriate evidence rather than thinking, well, let's throw everything at it and hopefully something will stick. It'll also help someone who is an assessor or acting as your consultant to be able to see where you are and also the reasons why you're including evidence and what it's there to demonstrate. And thirdly, it'll also help someone else within your institution understand where you are within your progress towards the quality and careers standard. Things change, other people need to get involved from time to time, And this document, if you keep it updated and you add your rationale for why you're selecting certain pieces of documentation and evidence to add, will really be helpful on a number of levels. So this will be supplied to you, and we would strongly urge you to keep this up to date and use it in your communications with Investor in Careers as well, to help us see where you're at. Finally, in this Get Started briefing, I want to just return to the Investor in Careers handbook and just make you aware of some of the other content that's available in it. So in stage 1, we talked about entitlement statements, and stage 2 particularly, linked to your CEIG policy. So entitlement statements, we give some information about what they are and what they should include. An example. Also include some information about CEIG policy documents, and there's a template that you can use, and again we can also supply some examples to show you different approaches to writing a CEIG policy. It's important to note that your policy should set out, you must, as it says here, you must be delivering everything set out in your policy. This is about what you do. It's not something that you're intending to do. If something's likely to happen only in the future, it should be included in your development or stroke improvement plan. So this is about what you do and why you do it with regards to CEIG. We also include the Gatsby benchmarks here, and these are going to become increasingly important and relevant within the Investor in Careers process, and to meet the Quality in Careers standard. If you're going through Investor in Careers to the Quality in Careers standard, then you will also be meeting the Gatsby benchmarks, or evidencing how you are working towards some of them within your development plans. I've made reference in stage 2 to the CEIG program, and that this should be mapped to a framework, and we've talked about the CDI framework. And this gives some clear learning outcomes, career learning outcomes, and it will help you look at your provision, your CEIG program as a whole, and see how are you supporting students to achieve those learning outcomes, and are there any gaps in your provision, or are you heavier on certain things and lighter on others? And it'll also then help you to link specific lesson resources and materials to those learning outcomes. So some useful resources. Training needs analysis. Now, although this comes at stage 3 in terms of when we look at it and assess it within Investor in Careers, this would be a good thing to include within your getting started approach, because as we said, we need to see this as a whole school or whole institution approach to meeting the Quality in Careers standard and delivering a quality careers program. So this is an example of a template which helps you to focus, or help staff to focus on specific aspects of CEIG and identify areas for development, and help you to plan support and training potentially that will be put in place. So here's a pro forma that you might want to use or adapt to your needs. And then, as I said, at stage 3, evaluation. We look at that, but you need to be thinking about this right from the beginning. You need to be thinking about your structure of how you're going to evaluate, the methods you're going to use to seek feedback, and when you're going to do it, and have that as a framework that you will work to. It's more than just seeking immediate feedback after an event, and it should involve the people who should have been also involved and engaged in developing the CEIAG programme, namely these parents, school staff, governors, external IAG provider, and the students themselves. And we've got some example templates here that you could look at and adapt for your own needs. You also have checklists for you to check off against as you approach readiness. So this is one for stage 2. There is one also for stage 3. So the Investor in Careers Handbook is a useful document. You will also find some useful information and also feedback from other providers who've gone through the Quality and Careers Standard via Investor in Careers on our website. And you can, of course, reach us direct at investorincareers@cswgroup.co.uk. Thank you.